In this video, I will teach you a super useful thinking system you can use to win more chess games. If you want to follow along, you have to think about three letters. C, P, A. Control, prepare, attack. That is our goal. And if we follow the CPA system, you will always get a very good position and you will have an easy time finding a plan in the middle game, which can sometimes be difficult. So I will demonstrate this by playing a game against the manual chessbot. I will play e4, which I usually never play, but it's just to show you that you can play it with any opening, even if you don't know the opening. So the first letter, C, control. That means the first thing we want to do in any opening is we want to be in control. We want to feel in control. We want to be safe, basically. We don't want to have a position with a bunch of hanging pieces, with a bunch of tactics, traps, a lot of things going on. We want very solid, very simple chess. One of the best ways to be in control is to put a pawn in the center. E pawn, D pawn, C pawn, doesn't matter too much. Develop your pieces and castle as quickly as you can. I know that here the best move is pawn d4 and that is the theory, but I'm actually going to play check with the bishop just because this develops a piece I can immediately trade, and on the next move I can castle. So the reason I went for this is just because I want to demonstrate the CPA system. So C, control, as our first priority. But if you look at this, who is in control? I would say white has the most control. Why is that? Well, our king is already safe. We have a knight and pawn developed. We are lacking a little bit in development compared to black, but white is super safe. So that is why we want to prioritize the C, the control, first, so that we don't run into any troubles early in the game. After the C, we have the P, prepare. Now we want to prepare because later on we want to attack. So what do we mean with prepare? We want to start thinking about a plan, and instead of going for it immediately, we want to see if we can build up the pressure first, because attacking too recklessly immediately is never the right plan. So what do we want to do? Well, basically there are a couple of things. We want to further develop our pieces. I still have two pieces here that are not developed, so I could think about pushing pawns, for example, pawn d3, knight c3. Let's make a move for them as well. Knight to c3, maybe they play e6, I can develop my bishop. You can play things like this. But in general, the problem with all of these moves is that they are standalone moves. There is not really any plan to them. And although they are not bad moves, since you don't really have a specific plan, it's often difficult to keep finding the next best move. So instead, we want to prepare for an attack. We want to prepare a plan. So the P stage is very important. This is usually also where you need to spend some time to think. So what is a good plan here? Well, in general, one of the simplest plans in the beginning is to see if you can fight for the center, meaning fight for these four central squares. So how can we do that? One is putting more pawns in the center. For example, something like pawn to d4, but that would more so be attack, immediately doing something. Because now we have to calculate, some changes can appear, and a lot of things can happen at the same time. But in general, the d4 move is a good plan. We are basically attacking the center. So we want to prepare this first. What is a move that prepares this? Well, very simply, pawn to c3. Because we are basically supporting it already, so that we can push d4 on the next move. Of course, after every move your opponent makes, you have to do a quick check. They are attacking this. So what I always do is I always think back to the CPA. Control, prepare, attack. So right now I am not in control because one of my pawns is under attack. So I have to fix this before I do anything else. We are back in control. Our position is safe again. We don't have a problem. We are in control. Now I can further prepare, but I basically have already prepared. So now it's time to attack. We want to make an aggressive move. Pawn to d4. We put an extra pawn in the center. They can take. We already prepared that we can recapture. And now you can see we have two pawns in the center. And every time you succeed with a plan, you have to do the CPA again. So first control. Because every time you have done a plan like this, the position will have changed a bunch and you want to be sure that you're in control again first. So they are attacking us. There are a lot of things that can happen. We can take, then we have to calculate what happens, well, actually not with this capture, just what happens with the knight capture or the queen capture. For example, this. But I don't feel like this is a position where we have a lot of control, because we actually have an isolated pawn, a pawn that is not supported by any other pawns. That is a weakness. So that is not a good plan. What I think would be interesting here is to actually just push the pawn. Push, they are also forced to move the knight somewhere, and Of course, with the center closed like this, we are in control. Nothing is really going on here. So that is just a very simple move to make sure we take back the control. Probably they will put the knight here. Okay. And now it is time for our next plan. We are in control. So we want to prepare. This is again a thinking moment. We want to find a plan. Our pieces still haven't developed. So that is basically the next plan from our previous plan. We want to develop these pieces. And also this knight is a strong piece. It's even a little bit annoying. It's attacking one of our pawns as well. So very simply, we want to remove this knight. That's a very good plan. Capturing it immediately would be giving away material, of course. So we could maybe play knight to d2, which has prepare. We are preparing to capture it on the next move. If they just play a random move, we can take, and then we can even win a pawn. And of course, if they do trade, well, they are basically helping us because now we have one developed our knight, it's gone, their strong knight is also gone, and we also developed our bishop for free. So this is a very good prepare move. Then it depends what they are going to do. Okay, so they play the bishop here to b4, pinning our knight to our rook. So this is important. This is a moment for calculation. And for calculation, what I always like to do is the CCT, checks, captures, threats, because every time when you start calculating, those are going to be the most important moves. Well, in general, we had a plan here. Our plan was to take this. And if they recapture, we get a pawn. That was the plan. It looks like they might have made it impossible. But since we always want to calculate every capture regardless, I'm just going to calculate. What if we take this? And let's say they do take our rook. Okay. But I hope you see if we follow CCT, checks, captures, and threats, we have a check. Check to the king. King has to move. And then at the end, we can take this. So we would just be winning material. So actually this move by my opponent here was a mistake. It doesn't actually stop our plan. So we can take this. And they do take back, which of course then we can take this with the rook. So the first thing we are going to do, again, we had a successful plan and we're actually up a pawn. So things are going great. Again, the same plan. C, control, P, prepare, A, attack. Control. Are we in control? Well, we have a solid center. Everything is defended and we don't really have any hanging pieces. So I would say we are in control. The next thing again is prepare stage. We want to prepare for an attack. What I am thinking here is that I still want to develop this bishop. That's very important. And I also want to attack the king if I can. Because I do notice we have a pawn on e5. And whenever you have a pawn on e5, that means there's no knight on f6. And with no knight on f6, this pawn is quite weak. And oftentimes you can start an attack on the enemy king. So that is what I am thinking about right now. Is there a way I can start an attack? I could potentially swing over the rook, attack this, which they can push. But then I can go in and they have to move the rook. And I can already see that this is starting to look like there might be something in this variation. Because some things are happening. One other plan I could also do is basically with the same idea. Maybe play the queen to d3 first. So that I can then later on, for example, swing over the rook to this square or this square and then attack. So in general, I think queen to d3 really follows our prepare principle. This would more so be an immediate attack, while this would be a prepare. I can also move my bishop. But as you might have seen in my calculation, there is an opportunity I would potentially want to put my bishop here on the h6 square. So I'm not going to move it straight away. I'm actually just going to move my queen first. Let's see what they do. Okay. They are attacking our rook, but we can capture this en passant. So again, whenever something dynamic happens, meaning you need to calculate, we want to calculate first for the captures and the checks and the threats. This is a capture. They can recapture, but now they have a weakness in the center. We also have one, but at the same time, their king has also been opened up. So I think this looks like a solid move. Okay, let's see. They recapture with the rook. So again, the first thing I want to do is see, am I still in control? So I'm going to quickly check. Is this guarded? Yes, it's actually protected 3 times. Is my king still safe? I don't really see anything. Okay, so that means we are in control. We have also already somewhat prepared to attack on this side of the board. The next thing we want to do is just attack, basically. That is our letter A. So I think there are some good plans. For example, this looks like a very simple move. It's just an immediate attack on the rook. Yes, they can move, but at the same time, we were also able to develop our bishop with a tempo because we attacked the rook. And this is not a problem because our bishop is actually protected. So that was again a successful cycle of the PCA. We again have an improved position. Am I in control? I think I am, because there's not really anything going on. What is a good next plan? I am currently thinking we do have some things going on here. The bishop is attacking these squares. We have the rook here. We have the queen here. So there might be some variation where we can maybe jump in with the knight, not here because, actually here we could potentially do it, because if they take, we take their queen. And if they take this, we take this and this. That's a problem. So you can see that there are some plans here that we could potentially play for, with maybe a rook or a knight jumping in. And some line, I can believe we can probably also try to push this pawn, but probably not right now, because they can just capture, and then at the end of the exchange, yeah, nothing really happened. But of course, the goal from our P, the prepare, is not to immediately find something like this push, but to find a way to prepare it. So I'm going to play rook to d1, which basically prepares us to push this if they don't put the queen on d5. So it's still fine. Are we still in control? I think we still are. Nothing really going on. Can we prepare a plan? I don't really see much right now immediately, but I do see that in the center everything is blocked. On the king side everything is blocked. So usually you can shift sides, because basically there are only 3 sides of the board you can attack. You can attack on the queen side, you can attack here in the center, or you can attack on the king side. And that is also something I keep in mind. I already tried to attack on the king side. We are actually better on the king side. We have a lot of squares in control, but no really a winning attack. I tried to attack in the center, but they are blocking it. And I don't think we really have anything, because this loses material, and this loses the bishop now. So we don't really have anything in the center. So we are going to shift or focus on the queen side. Is there something going on here? Well, actually, yes. We can attack this bishop, which is an attack. They have to go back, but we can also easily expand, keep pushing, keep forcing them to go back. And you can see we are starting to get some pawns moving on this side of the board as well. We are gaining some space. So in general, I think this is a good plan. They are going here, so immediately before we do anything, we have to check, are we still in control? And we actually are not in control, because if I push this, they would capture and we would be in trouble. So how do you respond? Well, there are always multiple things you can do. In general, if I can just trade and basically immediately solve this problem, that looks to me like it is a good plan. So again, we are slowly making progress. Can we push on the queen side right now? Yes, I think we can. It's actually fine. We are not really gaining anything, and it's not really combined with any plan. So if you play this, no worries, but I would personally say that is not part of the plan. We have to always keep starting the cycle over and over again. Are we in control? We are in control. We have no weaknesses. Do we have something we can attack? Yes. There is a weakness, and it is actually already attacked. So it would be nice if we could just take it, but they would take the rook. So can we prepare for that? Yes, we can put the queen here and basically double up on this pawn. So even though those are small plans, you can see we are slowly creating plans. So again, I want to take, but that's not possible. The queen is defending it. Is there a way I could try to get the queen to move? Yes, I can move my rook here, and then the queen is forced to move. And if the queen moves, I can show you, if the queen moves all the way back, of course they are losing. And if the queen moves here, I could continue, I could keep finding plans. I could probably even add an attacker. I don't know. Yeah, I could probably just add an attacker. I think that's just fine. And we can keep building up the pressure. Now we have a little bit of a complex moment because they are doing a counterattack. So we do have to do some calculation. If we take the queen, they take our queen. And at the end of the day, we are losing material because it's rook and knight versus 2 rooks. So that doesn't seem like the right plan. So probably we will just have to move the queen because we are no longer in control. We are being attacked. So I think we just have to move the queen. I think queen e2 is the simplest because basically we still stick to the entire plan and everything is still protected. Everything is holding on. They are going here with the queen. All right. They are attacking a pawn which is defended. So nothing really going on. The question is, can we take this? Right now we cannot do it because of course the queen can also capture backwards. That's something many beginners forget. I'm not saying this as a joke, it is true, many beginners forget about this. Pieces can move backwards and we would be losing. Can we add an attacker simply to the pawn? Yes, we can. So since we are in control, our attack doesn't work immediately, we have to prepare. So I'm going to prepare with the knight here. Let's see what they do. They move over the rook. Basically, it doesn't really do anything. We can just take this. So we were able to win some extra material. And already we are up 2 pawns just by following the same system. And the good thing is, since we are always forced to go back to the controls tab, you can also avoid any counterplay. Because right now I'm already thinking, oof, some things are going on here. For example, they can try to counterattack, some things can happen. My knight, I don't know if this knight is actually super well placed here. Might get in trouble in the future because still my pieces always have to protect it. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to move my knight back, a little bit of a retreating move, a save move, since we also are attacking this rook. So we basically get a little bit more control, a little bit more safety. And what I want to do now is see if we can push our advantage into a win. So one thing I was thinking about is there a way I can actually just trade material here? Because I think the more we trade, for example, this variation, the more we trade, the easier the game is going to get. As soon as you are up material, you can basically think about trades. I think both of these captures are good. Probably the most interesting one is this. And I'm thinking, can we just force an exchange of queens? With the queens, I think we can just force an exchange of queens. We do always have to be careful. Can we actually win this endgame? I think we probably can, but it's maybe a little bit complex. You also, of course, don't need to just always trade all the pieces. Since we are in control, we can also think about a new plan. And I think one plan is just to use the extra pawn we have and to see if we can push it. Because if we can keep pushing it, we can keep creating threats. That looks like a mistake because of this check. And I'm thinking, do we just get a free piece? No, we don't get a free piece. We would be getting checkmated. What can we do? Probably we just have to move the rook. And this is a very simple tactic. I hope you can see it. Check. And that's a mate. So using the system control prepare attack, I am sure you will start winning way more games.